Here's our next video in the series on ACL rehabilitation following an athlete from surgery all the way back onto the field. We are now into phase 4 of this process in week 17, and our main focus is to increase the lower extremity strengthening component, work on sprinting technique, master sport-specific skills, and simulate the demands of the sport based on the surface that they're going to play on. In this case, Maddie's going to be training for the soccer field, so we wanted to get her doing some field work so that she could begin this process. We start the session similar to what we would do in an indoor training session, going through an active warm-up and some light agility drills as you see here. The other person in the video is Steve Slane. Steve is one of the co-founders and owners of Sport-Specific Training, and his background is as a massage therapist and strength coach. Worked with the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team from 1991 through 1997, including their gold medal win in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. This also opened a venue to us to work with the women's national team as they trained for the '99 World Cup and the 2000 Olympics. So the company has a strong background in the soccer community, which is why this is one of the target populations we have chosen to work with. Now, all the drills you see Maddie doing here are ones that you're familiar with from before. She did 2 feet going in, she did 2 feet lateral, she did a shuffle drill. And again, the main difference is that she's doing it on grass or an uneven surface versus a controlled surface in the clinic. You see now Steve demonstrating a backward shuffle here for Maddie to go through. The main difference being that obviously the difference in direction, but also you don't have the same proprioceptive awareness because visually you can't see where your target is. Now, one of the main reasons that we try to get them out on the field, and you can see the field here is actually a little training area behind one of the soccer fields that a school plays on, is that the terrain is not necessarily even and in the best condition. And this adds the challenge of the dynamic surface as well as a little proprioceptive input for the athletes. We've now transitioned from the agility ladder to doing what we call the square drill. It can be done in different sequences, but it's basically, in this one, is a jog forward, they're doing a karaoke side step to a back pedal, and then the opposite direction, and you may have them do several repetitions of this as they go through. We also did versions of the 20-yard shuttle, which you'll be familiar from previously. You can see here that although Maddie is good on her initial acceleration, because we have her running in sneakers versus cleats, she doesn't have quite the same traction that she would. So there's a little bit of slipping that we see. You can also see that Steve is going through some technique changes with her about keeping a low center of gravity and pivoting her hips when she makes her turns. And also on this version, we go from the traditional 20-yard shuttle to, once they're done, continuing to a sprint to work on the acceleration. These are some variations of what she's already built on in the clinic. You can see here now she's going to turn the corner and accelerate, and we'll do this cutting to both directions. There's also several cutting and pivoting drills that we'll have her do. On this one, you have her doing a back pedal, pivoting out to a sprint. In the other direction, we have her going forward into a sprint. Both of these are 45-degree angled cuts. And now we're going to have them doing a series of shuffles and back pedals to work on changing direction and pivoting. Here you can see Maddie going through a bounding to a sprint, and then you'll see another drill here where we're doing basically the same as the W drill, but on the field without specific cones in place for them to target. After we've done the movement portion, typically we'll end up with some fitness and some sprints. Here you see her doing a 20-yard sprint. We did several repetitions of those. And I think one of the things we really try to stress with the athletes is teaching them how to do a proper cool down after they do their workouts. This is similar to what we would take the teams through after they have a game. Of course, the importance of the cool down is to not only give the body a chance to adjust and also get some blood flow going if they've been sitting for a while on the bench, but it also is the precursor to them doing some stretching after activity, which we also encourage them to do, along with all the normal things that you do as far as icing, etc., for any bumps and bruises that may have occurred. One of the things I think is important to point out in this process is that even when we're doing things that people are familiar with, there's always a conversation that's going on. You can see several times throughout, Steve was giving Maddie instruction on technique and talking about things they need to do.